Hello and welcome back to Arsenal Domination, where it is match day. Arsenal, after that excellent performance against Real Madrid in the week, will return to Premier League action later today, where they will face London rivals Brentford at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal, of course, coming into this on the back of that big win, but league form being less great, of course, with that draw against Everton last weekend. But as I say, I think that game kind of needs to be looked through the prism of the Everton game, where all the Real Madrid game, where all the focus, of course, was on that. And I think this weekend could be very similar. Arsenal, of course, in a very dominant position going to Madrid, but they are also going to play one of the best sides in Europe still, and certainly historically the best side in Europe ever in Real Madrid. And while they do have that big lead, it is certainly not guaranteed that Arsenal will progress, and that will, I'm sure, be on Mikel Arteta's mind going into this game. But we should focus on the bees, as I tend to do at the start of these previews. Of course, they lost 3-1 to Arsenal earlier this season at Brentford, where Arsenal gave a really quite a good sort of solid performance. It wasn't spectacular, but it was a very professional performance, and Arsenal deservedly getting the win. And Brentford will come here on the back of two games without a win. They drew, of course, at Chelsea and lost to Newcastle in the last two games. And their away form isn't brilliant this season, winning just 5 on the road so far. And Brentford are where they are. They're 12th in the league, and I think that probably sums up where sort of the level they're at. But that doesn't mean that they're not a good side, and it doesn't mean that they can't cause Arsenal problems, particularly as I am, and I will come on to this, expecting Arsenal to sort of be slightly weaker in terms of their selection for this one. We know that Visa and Wimberma will make a very good partnership. They have a lot of sort of combative and still skillful players. You know, that defence is still relatively good, and Damsgaard, of course, in midfield will be a threat. And they will be incredibly well organised, and they will look to hit Arsenal on the counter attack. And I suspect that Thomas Frank will come here with a relatively low block. And that is something Arsenal have struggled to break down. As I mentioned earlier, Arsenal will come into the back of this game probably with Madrid in mind, and I think we will see lots of changes because Saka, of course, just returning from injury, as is Martinelli. I'd expect to see those two not play the full 90 minutes. In fact, I'd really like to see both of those two on the bench for this one. Mikel Arteta very coy on team selection coming to this one, and it sounds like Ricardo Calafiori will still be out, but otherwise all of the sort of players that were available for Madrid will be available, which of course is a good thing, and we are expecting long-term absentees to be out for a while longer, though I did do a short yesterday on the fact that Kai Havertz could be back before the end of the season. So please go and check that out if you haven't seen that news. And as I say, I expect the approach from Arsenal to be very similar to that of Everton. They will be mindful of Madrid on Wednesday, but I think this is important for Arsenal to get a win. Their league form hasn't been great, and while I think they will get top 4, and of course they extended their league last weekend with Forest losing, I think they do need to win here just to sort of ease the concerns, because they've got some big games still to play. And I think Mikel Arteta can't focus entirely on Wednesday, and we have a squad that should be capable of being heavily rotated and getting some points even in the Premier League, especially at home. But as I say, I do expect big changes. I think Rice and Martinelli, Saka and Martinelli even shouldn't start. I think Ewan Timber is another one that needs a rest here. And I wonder as well on Miles Lewis-Skelly. He's played a lot of football for one so young, and I wonder if he might be one to rest. And I think Thomas Partey potentially will be rested as well. One of him or Rice, I think, should be rested, and I'd like to see neither of them play the full 90 minutes. Arsenal then, what do I expect the side to be? I think it'll be Raya in goal against his former side. I think White will come in at right back, and it'd be good to get him another 70, 80 minutes under his belt. And I expect Saliba and Kivior to sort of continue together at centre back this season. And I'd like to personally see Kieran Tierney start at left back, but I do expect it to Miles Lewis-Skelly. In midfield, I think one of Rice or Partey to start alongside Jorginho, with Martin Odegaard starting as a third, with Wanyeri, Sterling and Trossard up front. I would like to see Saka or Martinelli come on and get a few minutes, with Wanyeri replacing Odegaard in that 10 role. I think getting Odegaard a bit of rest as well will be really helpful. And I think possibly Saka and Martinelli coming off the bench to continue that rehabilitation back will be important, but not too long there. And as I say, I think Rice and Partey, neither of them doing 90 minutes and sort of one coming on for the other would be a sensible decision from Mikel Arteta. Another option, of course, is to play Jorginho in the six and start Zinchenko. I don't think that will happen, but that would be an interesting selection from Arsenal there if he wanted to rest both from the start. But as I say, Brentford are no mugs, and I don't think you can make full rotation here, and sort of change 8, 9 players and expect to win the game. And that's where I think that balance will be struck, and that's why I think that team sort of does do that to some extent. I mean, it is a lot of changes, as I say, for me, but I don't necessarily expect to see those full changes. But we will see. In terms of score prediction, I think it will be Arsenal 2, Brentford 0, but I think the game will be relatively comfortable for Arsenal there. And 3 points, as I say, very, very important as we sort of seek to get Champions League qualification. I think it's probably too late for the league, but it would also put a bit of pressure on Liverpool if we were to win, particularly if they were to lose this weekend in their game. So that's all from me on the preview. I hope you have a great day and enjoy the game later. And give me your thoughts on both scoreline and starting 11. I will be back after the game as always, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks very much for listening. Bye.